Hi there, Tracy, with another layout using the Darlene kit from Scraptastic, which is the kit for April of 2015. And for this one, I'm going to use these two pieces of paper here, these two pattern papers that I had already cut and outlined for this other layout, the Big Melt layout. So if you missed that one, it's on my channel. It should be the most recent layout before this one. And so I have that Hello paper with a couple of gold sections on it that is from Jen Hadfield, and then I have the Crate paper which has the green polka dots and then the tiny little black flecks amongst it as well. And those two papers, as I said, I cut for the other layout and I outlined them and they were all ready to go, and then I decided to go a different direction with the layout. So my challenge here is to use those on this next layout. This another challenge for this layout. This is part of the National Scrapbook Day challenge on a Facebook group that I'm part of called Nova Scotia Scrappers, and Angela has challenged us to scrapbook ourselves, and so this is what I'm doing here. It's a layout about myself, and so I'm just kind of playing around with what kind of a background paper I might want with those two chunks of paper and my photo. And so I tried the yellow, and then I tried this striped black and white stripe. That black and white stripe is just too bold. And I like that polka dot paper, but it's too similar to the paper that's already on the layout. And then the pink is going to contrast too much with the red in my hair. So then I decided to go with this greeny, I guess it's kind of like a teal colored cardstock. I love these papers, but they're not going to make it onto my layout. And I thought maybe I could put a border around this green paper. And I really love this, the green with a lighter green, the polka dot around the edges of it. That would have looked good, but I'm still not 100% happy with that. I like that look for something else, and I really like this, but I don't have enough of this paper to mat the whole layout in this paper. That's my last piece of that. So I'm just going to look at some of the extra pattern paper that I have. I did get the extra pattern paper add-on for the kit this month, and this is the back side of that beautiful paper with the script print all over it. I can't believe I'm using the back side of that because I love the front side so much, but these broad cream and pink, I guess it's kind of like a peachy pink stripes are exactly what I'm looking for my background, because it's not quite pink, so it doesn't contrast with the red as much as it, and I've got red in my shirt as well as in my hair there, so I'm mindful to not use pink on this layout. So just to make my photo a little bit more bold and stand out a little bit, it was already trimmed so that it had a white border around it. I just cut a black mat for it. And now this I want it to contrast as well with the other elements on the layout. So I was going to mist it in black, and then I remembered that that mist doesn't work. And this mist also doesn't really mist very well. So I'm just dipping a little paintbrush in there, and I'm going to paint this white die cut. This is an exclusive die cut that came in the kit. Every month our kits get a couple of little white die cuts that you can use for anything. I often leave them white because they're just cute white, but today I'm inking it, and it's going to be like a really dark gray or a grayish black by the time it dries. So I'm just grabbing a piece of paper towel to put that on so it doesn't get anything dirty, and putting it up there for a second, and it dried quite quickly, so I like how it's going to look. I'm just going to trim the manufacturer's strip off of this beautiful piece of paper, and it is from the On Trend collection from my Mind's Eye. And I want to use this strip of labels as a design element, as instead of cutting them apart and using them as labels. But I got to get rid of this pink one. So what I thought I would do is just kind of do this. Kind of cut them and then apply it so that the black one is completely covering the pink one. And then I had a second thought, because the black was a little bit distracting because it's such a strong color amongst all those other colors, that I decided to trim off the black altogether and just have it be those colors. And then I also took off the yellow because I don't think there's going to be any yellow in this layout, so I didn't want that one yellow thing to be there. So all of the colors that remain are colors that will be on this layout anyway, so they're different shades of green and reddish colors. So I had this medallion, this wood veneer medallion that I had cut in half for another layout, and so I had the half of it left, and I thought I would use it on this layout. This may be the last layout that I do with this kit, so I'm trying to make sure that I use up anything that I definitely want to use, and that would veneer is one that I definitely want to use. Now, I've been doing a lot more journaling lately. I bought a new journal, and I've always been quite a journaler. I do a lot of online journaling and that sort of thing, but I've been keeping paper journals lately, and so the journal with the I am on the front of it just really kind of spoke to me today. And I especially like it with that little feather beside it, and so I'm just, pulling out some elements from the chipboard pieces that came in the kit. And you might notice I actually have 2 sheets of those chipboard elements because I also bought the entire I am collection when I was at Crop and Create Moncton, and so I have extras of all of these things. So now I'm just going through the die cuts, and this one it looks like little washi tape pieces that have an arrow and then a little typewritten "This is me," and I thought that would look kind of cute right there, but it looked a little flat, so I took one of the chipboard stickers, and that is an arrow, and I just laid the chipboard arrow right over the printed arrow, and it just gives a little bit more interest and dimension to that embellishment. And I took some of those phrases, which I had to dip into my own version, like from my stash of the chipboard elements, to get those little phrases, and I'm putting one on each of the labels that exists. I just took a minute there to fill in my layout ingredient form, and if you're looking for that, I keep it on my layout information now, so whenever you check out my information, you should be able to see a link to that on my blog if you want it. It's very specific to me, so I can't see it being very helpful to anybody as it is, but you could always have a look at it and then make your own or modify it to be your own. So I've decided to use these imprint thickers that came in the kit, and I'm spelling out the word changing because I'm using the I am. I am actually shows up 3 times on this layout, but I'm using the large chipboard I am that's above the photo, and then changing to be the rest of my title. I also have I am on the arrow that I painted black, and there's also I am on the journal as well. I'm just grabbing another picture as I go along because I'm eventually going to have to take all this apart in order to glue everything down. And I have these DIY tags in my stash, and I got these from my stamping studio in Windsor, and I got them on sale quite a while ago, and I've been hanging on to them, and they're just perfect for this layout, so I'm going to use them today. I'm going to use one for my journaling, and I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to place it, but it'll be somewhere up around there. And then I think I'm going to put one under the word changing as well. I played around with that idea and then I took it out, and I'm going to use a second tag so that I can do both of those ideas. So use one for my journaling and also one to back that word. The reason I often like to back words or titles with something, some type of a paper element, is that it helps it to not be quite as distracting when you've got layers underneath of your title. And so I just took some Heidi Swapp Gold Mist, and I just misted it with the mister instead of sprinkling it. So I actually pressed on the little nozzle and actually misted it, which I never do. But that just makes a much more subtle misting, because I'm going to be writing on one of these, the one that I'm doing right now, I'm going to be writing on. And then on the other, the plain one, it's going to be, I want it to be a non-distracting background for the word changing. Because you see how when that tag is not there, the layers underneath of the word changing were quite distracting. And because the letters themselves are quite thin, it's easy to get distracted and decrease the readability of that word. So I snapped one last photo, and now I am just taking everything apart so that I can put it all back together again. And I'm going to use some pop dots here to make these labels kind of curl up at the top and the bottom, up away from my page a little bit. And so I'm just kind of making sure that you can see all of the word hello over there on the top right, and some of the gold hello in the bottom right. Just because what I love about that photo, about that paper, is that it has those gold elements, and so I don't want to cover them up with my design. So now I have this already kind of spelled out on my waxed paper, but as I put it onto the tag, I'm wanting it to kind of go a little bit up and down and have a bit of a bouncing baseline. And that's just because I don't want this word to be perfect. I want it to be sort of, because this layout is sort of about self-growth and development, and I want the tag to be imperfect the same way that I'm imperfect, if that makes any sense. So I just took it over to my sewing machine now, and I didn't bother to bring my camera over, so sorry about that. I was in a rush when I was doing this because I wanted it to get it done in order to post it on the Facebook group that I'm a part of. So, and it's just a group for people in Nova Scotia who scrapbook. So, oops, I forgot 2 little strings there, and I like how that looks. Between the mist and the sewing and the letters, it just looks nice. I like it. I didn't bother to put a real reinforcer on there because I knew I'd be personalizing this tag quite a bit, so I thought I could just leave the reinforcer. It just kind of blends in. It's just a printed reinforcer instead of a 3D, kind of like an extra piece of paper as the reinforcer on the tag. So I'm trying to put all of these pieces back together pretty much the way that they were. I have to refer to my phone a little bit here to do that because I forgot where stuff was. And so the way I'm positioning this, I want some of that red label that's going to be mostly covered, but I want at least some. See how I'm leaving a little sliver of it at the top? I want some of the red label to be showing because the red label kind of, I don't know, I like that it's red. It keeps the layout from looking too pinky, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of pink on it. Otherwise, it's sort of a peachy pink color, but still, I guess you might be able to call it a soft salmon color. But I really want the 2 places where there's red on this layout, I want the red to stand out. So the other place is the bottom label here, or the second bottom label. And so as I position both the tag that the word changing is on and this journal, which is just a die cut journal, I am positioning them both so that another little sliver of that red tag on the bottom is going to show as well. I did pop dot the journal because a journal would have more depth than some of the other elements that I'm putting on here, so I wanted it to stand up a little bit. And I'm just putting some mono multi adhesive to the wood veneer to stick it in place. And now I'm getting ready to put these arrows all in place as well. So I'm putting them all kind of back where I had them the first time, just following my photo again. And I'm just going to place these word stickers as well. They're from the I Am collection again. And I'm just going to use my tiny attacher to add a tiny bit of detail to this embellishment before I stick it onto my layout. And I'm making it so that it's sort of around where the center of that wood veneer medallion would be. And it's kind of pointing to me in my hair. And I have my Xyron X out because I'm trying to use more tools this month and maybe forever. But I'm especially trying to think about it this month to get more in the habit of using these things that I've had for a long time that I never seem to use. And one thing that I like to do when I'm using my Xyron X is send as many things through it as possible at once, because that way it's not so wasteful. And I did get to the end of my cartridge there, and so I have a stash of refills in my closet that I'll have to dig into to refill that. And now I'm just taking, this is a little embossing tool that I keep with my, I actually keep it with my scoreboard, my Martha Stewart scoreboard. But I find that these embellishments, when you run them through your Xyron X, if you just take a minute to not only really kind of like rub your fingers over it to keep it in place, but take a little tool to go into all the little corners, it makes them a lot more clean. And not so much stray glue on them when you do pull them off of the adhesive backing, or the protective backing on the back of it. So I'm just going to position these arrows in about the same places that they were before. I'm overlapping this arrow with some of the letters in my word changing. And now I'm just taking a pencil because I was planning to pull out that tag to do my journaling, but I decided to just leave it in place. It's not glued yet, but I'm just leaving it in place. And I don't like leaving it in place because my handwriting suffers a little bit when I do this. I probably should have just pulled it out, but I really didn't want to trace around all of the extra pieces that were cutting into this journal with pencil because I wasn't entirely sure how nicely it would erase, given that there was already mist on this tag. So I didn't want to do that. So that's why I'm writing with it in place. And my handwriting isn't the greatest because of that, but my handwriting isn't the greatest anyways. It says, lately I've been making changes, ... inside and out. You could, and could is underlined, you could call it a midlife crisis, ... but I prefer the term midlife identity perfection. And then some little hearts after that. And I just used my eraser there to clean up some of those lines. And it erased fine even with the mist, so I probably could have gone ahead and taken that tag out and done a better job with the printing, but that's okay. It looks good the way it is. Now, I positioned it with some ATG, and I'm just putting some staples on here more for a decorative effect than anything, but I want it to look like it's stapled onto the layout. And I had to take the backing off of the IM. And these chipboard pieces, they need a little bit of extra glue just to make sure that they stay in place. And so I'll go ahead and take all of the little places where there are chipboard, and I'll just add a little bit of extra. I'm also taking off the backing. Some of them the backing was already off of, and they're just mildly tacky. They're not really, I wouldn't go as far as to say that they're sticky when you take off the backing. So I am just adding some glue to keep them in place. And again, that's some mono multi adhesive. And it's by Tombow. The last label has 2 little phrases on it, just because I had 2 phrases I wanted to have. So the phrases are loving life, simply me, thankful, and happy. And I haven't quite decided if I'm going to put that heart on the journal yet, so that's why I didn't go ahead and glue that one yet. And now I'm putting the last arrow in place, which is, they're already sticky because they've been through my Xyron. And you'll notice that you can pull things off very carefully if they're glued down with the Xyron. So I'm just taking, I have a little Stampin' Up! Pop dot under that arrow flare badge from the Scraptastic Club. And so I just had to remove the backing and put that in place. It's pointing to the little streak of red in my hair. I got a tiny little streak of red in my hair this week. I'm kind of like undergoing a gradual makeover. Starting with getting a little bit of red in my hair, and I have some other things planned. And so this is sort of like a layout that documents, and I plan to do maybe a couple of layouts along this line, just because there's sort of a lot going on with me. So you'll see it unfold if I do end up documenting it. So now I'm just putting the whole thing down on my background paper. And there it is. And I like how this one looks. It certainly is a lot more busy than some of my layouts. It's got, you know, that hello, hello, hello paper is, you know, it really adds to the busyness, and all of those arrows kind of overlapping with various pattern paper. Just, you know, there's a lot going on, but I like a layout like this every once in a while. And I've got, you know, I have a little bit of, I guess I would consider it an eclectic style. And so I like that some of my layouts look different than others. And some of them are very much a typical kind of Mercy Tiara layout, and others are just a little bit different. So but I like all of the things on this layout, and since this is a layout about me, everything on it is sort of something that I love. Like I love feathers, and I love paper journals, and I love wood veneer, and I love the IM collection, so there's lots of that. And that little paper clip by Heidi Swap that's up in the very top left-hand corner is absolutely gorgeous. And so, and I'm a lover of tags, and I love that imprint thicker. So my goal for this one, because it was about me, to try to, you know, use as many of the elements that were on my desk this month that I just absolutely love. It might be the last layout I do with the Darlene kit, so I want to get all my favorite things onto this layout. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a really great scrappy week.